Trauma can be compacted and buried really, really deep. And I know it's a terrible analogy, but it makes sense. It is something that you can resonate with, probably not great, but you can resonate with it. When you're feeling like constipated, you have compacted so much and it gets uncomfortable and you feel bloated and it's just, that it's been days. That is what having shit basically compacted on top of each other, and it's really thick. And what you want to do is relieve yourself. That's what happens with trauma. That's what happens when our frontal lobe cuts things out. It actually just, puts this black curtain so you can't think past that you have put a barrier over your frontal lobe because your mind, your body doesn't want to see any of that trauma, but you've buried it so deep that the amount of sessions you have, the amount of trance that you go into, it's not really going to go and get into that deep-seated, compacted trauma emotions that you have really buried down. So a lot of the sessions that I've had is about really untying and decompacting, or if that's a better word, is, having medicine that releases and gives ease to yourself that you can actually let loose. That's the term. That's what it is. It's letting loose, and it's gradually just relieving yourself of emotions, even though it's painful. It can be a really insightful process because they'll see that it's been buried there and you really have to tease it out. So one knot might be untied, and then you'll see that there'll be another knot and another knot and another knot, because it's been really compacted and buried that your client might not even realize that they're avoiding the situation, that they're not even recognizing that they have any problems at all, or that they haven't even realized that what you're asking them to think hasn't been a question that they've even thought about, because you have opened the scope. You have made it so vague by your questions that they haven't even thought about looking at it that way. They haven't even thought about, well, those scenarios, what if I saw it this way? And I know that when you start asking these questions, they are going to start really going in and delving into those emotions that have been buried in, that they haven't wanted to face. They didn't want to, look at. When you open them up, when you start putting things at ease, it becomes a better flow, so to speak. A lot of the flow means a lot of that is going to be expelled. You're going to start seeing and hearing a lot of those knots coming up, and you want to be actually catching them. You don't want to let that magical moment of them talking and seeing that they're actually starting to reveal a lot of those emotions. You want to catch that, because that is the problem. That's where you want to really investigate what is it that they have buried. You being direct but vague in your questions, it can get them to really think about what it is that they need to think about. And I know that sounds crazy and you think, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. But when you're in the session and when you are in the course, it will all make sense, because the demonstrations will show you when someone's unconsciously thinking that they know the problem, that they know the resource and the answer, But when you start really investigating and being direct but vague, their unconscious mind will kick in and they'll start giving you little signs, they'll start giving you little breadcrumbs of where to follow. Opening up that frontal lobe so that you can see the picture, that you can start seeing some direction. And even if you get lost in the questioning, you can divert the question, because all roads will lead to Rome. All questions will get to the core of the issue. But it's just how you say that, what questions that you can be open with to get to the pinpoint yourself to what the actual issue is. And there's going to be many, like in a session, you can have so many things that will come from here and be plucked from here, and you'll just won't know where to go. But when you are calm and you're just listening and watching for what your client's signs are and the breadcrumbs that they're giving you, you will easily pick it up, and you'll see the frontal lobe just really exposed, and they'll be so relieved, they'll feel lighter, they will feel totally amazed by the conclusion that they come up with. And sometimes when you are in a session using techniques or using your deepeners and getting them into a trance, it doesn't get to the core issue, because they're not really thinking unconsciously, they're thinking with what their assumptions are. Trance can be wonderful in certain situations, but using advanced conversational therapy, or ACH, is really getting them to bring that thinking laterally, vertically, opening to all aspects and all directions. Gives the unconscious mind time to grab where it needs to grab, where the issue might have been from here, or the issue might have been from a childhood, might have been from a regression when they were only in their teens. The parents could have been or not been when they needed to be there. So a session can go anywhere, but it's knowing how you can direct the session to exactly where your client needs to be.